Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. We've been talking about the videos being released by the Center for Medical Progress. And the video that came out yesterday was maybe one of the most shocking yet. Maybe the most shocking. I wouldn't even say maybe. Anika Smith is a columnist for The Stream. She's been talking to us about this. She wrote about the latest video and analysis in her article yesterday, and she joins us here this morning on Gary Sutton Show. Anika, always good to have you on the show, although the topic obviously is a troubling one. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I saw some of this yesterday, and I got to tell you, it's amazing to me that everybody. I heard Rush Limbaugh talking about it yesterday, so I in openness and transparency here, I will say this, but he was all but in tears talking about this thing, which I couldn't believe. But apparently, they're collecting fetal tissue from a child who was born with a beating heart in this latest video. Tell us about it. What's going on?
Yeah, so it is really hard to watch. It's also hard to talk about it. So I'm going to always stumble a bit. If your listeners will be gracious and hang with me here. So this latest video features witness testimony from Holly O'Donnell, who is was an employee at STEM Express. They're the tissue procurement company, the middleman who pay Planned Parenthood for fetal organs. And Holly is telling a story about what caused her to quit her job at STEM Express, which is a time when there was a fully intact fetus that she said looked more gestated than anything she'd ever seen. It looks just like any normal baby.
Yeah, it's a baby, yeah.
Yeah, and the child's heart was still beating, and she was instructed to cut open its head to extract its brain. Now, the pain and trauma this young woman witnessed is evident in her telling of it. She's really brave, and that was the end of her career with STEM Express. But she says, I wish, I don't care what disease is cured from this. I wish I had not done it. It's not worth it. And it's really hard knowing that you're the only person who's ever going to hold that baby. And while she's telling this, we are getting behind-the-scenes undercover footage of another such procedure where the child, fully identifiable, has a face, clear eyes, eyelids, just nose, mouth, perfectly formed little ears, and this child also is still moving. It's really, the image is hard to bear. It's a really hard thing to watch. I understand for many of those who can't watch it, and we should remember for women who have endured miscarriage, for those who have had abortions, this is a really hard thing to see. No one wants their child to go through that, and the thing about this video is it's also framed with all these conversations with Planned Parenthood officials, with people working in biomedical research, such as the executive director of Novogenics, another sort of STEM Express-like company, saying, sometimes after the procedure, the heart is still beating. An admonition that these children are born alive and killed after leaving the womb. Also descriptions of partial birth abortions, which are, again, illegal under federal law. So there are a lot of legal concerns for Planned Parenthood. It's also, it's just the most damning thing to watch as far as the morality of abortion in America.
This Holly O'Donnell was a licensed phlebotomist who says she unsuspectingly took the job as a procurement technician, quote unquote, at the fetal tissue company and biotech startup STEM Express in late 2012. And she said the company acts as a middleman and purchases the body parts of aborted babies from Planned Parenthood to sell to research universities and other places They partnered with Planned Parenthood as STEM Express up until last week when it quietly announced it ended its relationship with the abortion corporation. Now, the new video, as you've been describing, includes O'Donnell's eyewitness narrative of the daily practice of fetal body parts harvesting in Planned Parenthood abortion clinics. And she tells the story of harvesting an intact brain from a late-term male unborn baby, who, as you mentioned, looks like a baby whose heart was still beating after the abortion. The coldest thing in it, I guess, and this is hard for a lot of us to really understand, get our minds around. O'Donnell says her supervisor asked her. She said, "I want you to see something kind of cool," and she just taps the heart and it starts beating. And I'm sitting here, she says, and I'm looking at this fetus and its heart is beating, and I don't know what to think. I mean, who thinks like that? I mean, you have to be. I mean, we can't even imagine a person being that cold. We can't even imagine a person being that horrible. Can we?
Well, if you dehumanize the other to the point where in your brain that's not a person, that's not a human, that's someone, that's a creature that can be exploited and manipulated and used for your benefit, or for, if you have a noble cause such as scientific research, for the benefit of humanity. Think of all the lives you can save by using this neural tissue, right? So there are lots of ways people will justify it to themselves. One of the striking things about this video is not only Holly O'Donnell's really evident remorse and pain from this experience that traumatized her very clearly, but also the discomfort you see with some of the Planned Parenthood execs, including Dr. Deborah Nucatola, who has a hard time talking about partial birth abortion.
Right.
I think there are a lot of people who struggle, and we should have hope for them that there may be conversion experiences, so to speak, within Planned Parenthood and within these abortion clinics.
You know, it's interesting. The Center for Medical Progress, which I was looking at the response again from Planned Parenthood, and basically they come out and said, all this stuff's been discredited. These people are lying. This is not, we use this. It's helping medical research. As you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, geez, I wonder if a lot of people who exterminated Jews during the Nazi Holocaust, I wonder if they could have come back and said, but we really didn't see them as people. And geez, some of these experiments we were doing at Auschwitz with Dr. Mengele and people like that, geez, they were being done to help mankind as we understood it at that time. I mean, I know it's a stretch, but by the same token, what makes it any different in a lot of ways to exterminate life on any level? I mean, that really is a question. I've changed my whole thought on capital punishment because of a lot of this. And I look at that and I say, if we could stretch our imaginations back then, are we not kind of doing a little bit of the same thing now? I'll be at different situations. I'll grant you that. But, we're stretching it awfully far right here to say, what's supposed to happen, I think, according to the law, is that if you have a baby who survives an abortion, I think most state and federal laws require that some treatment be given to that infant born alive after an abortion as to a normally delivered baby. Am I correct on that?
You are correct that there are some protections. However, you'll remember when Jill Stanek was doing her congressional testimony on the Infant Born Alive Act, a lot of people see this as an extremist move by pro-lifers to curtail abortion rights, even though it's very clearly meant for cases such as this, where a child is born alive and has human rights, but is still denied them. It's really, it's so galling and overwhelming. But I think the thing that's really the salient thing that's really hard to grasp until you see this video and hear the testimony from all these different people is that this is not a rare occurrence. This is going on. It's going on at Planned Parenthood. It's going on everywhere in America. And unless we stand up and do something about it, it will continue. Which is why we strongly urge people to watch these videos, to share them, to show them to their friends, or at least talk about it. Bring it up in your community groups, in your churches and synagogues. Bring it up. Let it be known what's happening and bring light into this darkness.
I was reading about something called I was not aware that this is what it was called, the Langendorf perfusion. That's a source where a heart is kept beating after it's excised from the body. Now, we've heard of donating organs after we die. There are people that do that. It's a very noble thing, that kind of situation. But, when you talk about, and in this latest video, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically this baby is lying there. I was reading, by the way, where Dr. Ben Handel, who's the executive director of Novogenics, what was talking about that there are times when the procedure is done that the heart actually is still beating, and he said the fetus is already in the vaginal canal where we put her in the stirrups. It just kind of fell out, and the heart's still beating. So for all intents and purposes, at that particular point, you have a person, and
you have a child born. Yeah.
And so in this latest, this latest video, I understand that they tapped this baby's heart. And then, basically, to get to the brain, they sliced open its face. Am I correct on that?
That is what happens in Holly O'Donnell's testimony. Now, mercifully, we do not see the slicing open of any faces. But we do see a really beautiful face.
Yeah.
And a child that is that moves.
Right.
Probably in pain in its last moments of life on this earth, and it's very hard to watch. But it's real and it's necessary to see.
It's just so shocking, and I can tell it's an emotional thing with you too. It should be with any of us. I mean, if life is precious, if it means anything. I mean, I don't know. We have to kind of think that our nation has descended into a kind of hell, at least on some level here, where we somehow sanction this being done in any way, shape, or form. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how we've gotten to that point. We're going to take a breather here for a second. I want to come back. I'll let you kind of compose yourself and me as well. I want to talk a little bit more about your article and where this is all going. If there is any movement in this country to correct this, if there is any movement to, I see some states are already getting rid of their ties to Planned Parenthood. We'll get more information. Anika Smith, columnist for The Stream, is with us here on the Gary Sutton Show. She'll be right back on WSBA. We'll also take your calls, 1-800-357-0910. I'm Gary Sutton. Back after this. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. Anika Smith is a columnist for The Stream. She's written about the latest video out there on Planned Parenthood. I was just reading Planned Parenthood's statement. I just want to share it very, very quickly here, Anika. It says, it is a statement from Eric Ferraro, the Vice President of Communications for Planned Parenthood Federation of America. And he said, in healthcare, patients sometimes want to donate tissue to scientific research that can help lead to medical breakthroughs. I didn't talk about donating a person. Such as treatments and cures for serious diseases. Women at Planned Parenthood of abortions are no different. At several of our health care centers, we help patients who want to donate tissue. That's what we've gotten down to. These are tissue, not babies. For scientific research. We do just like every other high-quality health care provider does, with full appropriate consent from patients and under the highest ethical and legal standards. There is no financial benefit for tissue donation for either the patient or for Planned Parenthood. In some instances, actual costs, such as the cost to transport tissue to leading research centers, are reimbursed, which is standard across the medical field. And then he says, a well-funded group established for the purpose of damaging Planned Parenthood's mission and services has promoted a heavily edited, secretly recorded videotape that falsely portrays Planned Parenthood's participation in tissue donation programs that support life-saving scientific research. Similar false accusations have been put forth by opponents of abortion services for decades. These groups have been widely discredited, and their claims fall apart on closer examination, just as they do in this case. Does Planned Parenthood have anything to stand on here?
Oh, my gosh. I think you and I both know the answer to that. The videos, first, calling the videos highly edited, which every news report in the mainstream is always quick to say, ignores the fact that documentary films, that undercover investigations, that any news segment you see on network nightly news is going to be edited to make it make sense to the viewer at the same time. Second, the Center for Medical Progress has released the full unedited clips simultaneously or within 30 minutes. So basically simultaneously within every video in every case. So you have the entire 3-hour-long conversation with Deborah Nicotola. You have a couple hours with the Gatter woman. It's just anyone can go and do the work themselves, and if they want to sit through that, they can watch and listen. They can read the transcripts. It's all the cards are out on the table. For an undercover investigation, this is really transparent, amazing work that the Center for Medical Progress
and the fact is, if they didn't have this right now, we wouldn't know the extent of this. We wouldn't know about a lot of this, and it's being put out, and these people are, in essence, whistleblowers on what is going on here. And the idea, where did I see that last week, STEM Express was partnered with Planned Parenthood up until last week when it quietly announced it ended its relationship with the abortion corporation. Why would you quietly announce that? Why wouldn't you proclaim that to the world if this was such a good thing?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the timing is interesting because STEM Express just got asked by Congress, who is investigating Planned Parenthood, to testify and reveal more about their relationship with Planned Parenthood. Every interview with a Planned Parenthood official that we have in these videos has them in some way saying how they make their ends meet, how they benefit financially. We have documentation of the costs. And the fact is, there are negotiations going on in these videos for these baby body parts.
Right.
And you don't negotiate if you have a set sort of shipping and handling, transportation, and procurement cost. It doesn't hold up to any sort of scrutiny or critical thinking. The problem is many people are willing to accept what Planned Parenthood says, the fact that they're not admitting any wrongdoing, and they just keep reiterating the same talking points. It leads them to just conclude that Planned Parenthood is in the right and is under attack by violent right-wing extremists, which, again, is very demonstrably false. The young man behind the Center for Medical Progress is a very devout Catholic who has put himself on the line doing this important investigative work. So, no, it doesn't hold up. But will people believe it? Sadly, a lot of people will. That's why it's up to you and your listeners and to those of us involved in grassroots movements to stand up for these children and stand against Planned Parenthood.
The next chapter of this, we're already seeing some states who are divorcing themselves from Planned Parenthood, from supporting them. We've seen some movement in the Congress, although it was voted down the other week, to defund Planned Parenthood. Are forces marshaling now to bring that back again? What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Well, what we're seeing now is a lot more movement on the statewide level where, frankly, I think you have Republicans with more guts. You just saw Nikki Haley, governor of South Carolina, who did a brilliant job handling the Charleston shooting and removing the Confederate flag there in South Carolina. She just announced that they're going to investigate Planned Parenthood in South Carolina. She's directed their Department of Health and Environmental Control to engage in this investigation. Bobby Jindal, even Scott Walker, people who have something on the line, and even people who don't, like Greg Abbott in Texas, are being really firm on this. It'll be interesting to see where these investigations go and where the investigations in Congress go. You've got the Senate Judiciary and the House Economy and Commerce Committees, both working on this and looking at it. I think if these investigations bring things to light that are apparent to those of us who watch these videos, I think then it's going to make it a lot harder for Planned Parenthood and their supporters not only to have federal support, but to stay in operation.
I tell you what, great article, Anika. We look forward to talking to you again soon. I'm sure there are other videos going to be coming out yet. Some states are trying to stop these, I know, in California. But it's good, I think, for us to know about what's out there and to be doing more research on exactly what Planned Parenthood is doing. Thank you for your journalism. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Oh, anytime. Thanks so much for having me, Greg.
Thank you, Anika. Take care. Anika Smith, columnist for The Stream, on a really just awful situation.